Hi and welcome back to another sewing tutorial. In this video I'm going to show you how to make this quilted makeup bag. So you can grab my pattern from my Etsy shop, which comes in 4 different sizes: small, medium, large and long. So now let's get started. We start by cutting the pattern pieces, but before cutting make sure to pre-wash the fabric. Once your fabric is pre-washed and dry, you are ready to move on to cutting the pieces. Here I have cut the rectangles from the main fabric and interfacing for the medium-sized bag. I also have 2 pieces of the lining here and the zipper pull tab, which you can cut from either the inner or outer fabric. Once you have cut the pattern pieces, start by fusing the interfacing to the main fabric. For the interfacing, I recommend choosing the white based on your preference for the final effect, so it's a good idea to test it on some scrap fabric before applying it. I'm using a medium weight interfacing here, which gives just enough structure while still remaining flexible. Place the fusible side of the interfacing on the wrong side of the main fabric, aligning the edges. Set your iron to medium heat without steam, then press down for 5 to 10 seconds in each section, lifting and repeating until it's fully fused. Here you can see the main fabric panel with the fused interfacing. Now trim off any excess interfacing to keep things neat. After fusing the interfacing to the main fabric, place the main panel facing up. Now, as you can see in the video, start by marking points about 2 cm apart along a long edge at the top of the rectangle. Once you have done that, repeat the same process for the bottom edge of the rectangle. Next, connect these marked points with straight lines, creating a quilt pattern. Keep marking and connecting the points until the entire rectangle is filled with evenly spaced lines, just like I'm doing here. In this video I'm focusing on vertical quilting, but you can also do horizontal quilting, a diamond pattern, or even squib quilting if you prefer. If you have a quilting guide for machine, you don't have to draw the lines manually. It makes the process even quicker and easier. Once you have drawn the lines, place the main panel on top of the wadding with the right side facing up. Make sure to cut the wadding with an extra 2 cm seam allowance around the edges. This extra bit of wadding will help manage any shifting during quilting, making everything go much smoother. Now pin the layers together to keep them from shifting while quilt. Stitch the main panel to the wadding along the drawn lines, making sure the stitches are straight to create a neat quilted effect. Use a long and strong stitch around 4 to 5 mm and make sure the needle is positioned in the center of the lines for even stitchings. This will give you quilted fabric a clean, professional look. Now press the quilted rectangle to help set the wadding in place. This will help the fabric smooth and the quilted pattern in place as you continue with the project. Lay the quilted rectangle right side up and place the main panel pattern piece 1B on top. Align the edges of the pattern with the quilted lines, making sure there is equal spacing on all sides so the lines run vertically around the makeup bag. Pin the pattern in place to keep everything secure while cutting. Now it's time to cut the final shape of the makeup bag. Make sure to carefully cut along the edges following the pattern and don't forget to snip all the notches. Here you have cut the final piece and now we can move to the next step. If you're adding a label, start by laying the main panel right side up. Take a ruler and align it with the end of the first horizontal edge, which is closest to the zipper edge, and draw a center line. Now measure 1 cm down and draw a second line also in the center. Now take your label and place it just below the second line, making sure it has equal spacing on both sides. Pin the label in place. Now stitch close to the label edge to secure it. This will add a personal touch to your makeup bag. Now take the main panel and lay it right side up. Open the zipper and place it right side down along the top edge, making sure the zipper teeth align with the seam allowance edge, and pin it in place. Use the zipper foot to stitch 7 mm from the edge, sewing from one end to the other. This will attach the zipper securely to the main panel. Close the zipper and fold the main panel so the right sides are together. Take the second side of the zipper and place it along the second edge, making sure it aligns perfectly with the side you just sewed. Pin it in place to get everything secure. Once it's pinned, go ahead and open the zipper again. This will make sewing much easier in the next step. Stitch the second side of the zipper just like the first one using a 7mm seam allowance. After both sides are sewn, close the zipper and check to make sure the edges align correctly and the quilting lines match up like here I'm showing on the video. Place the main panel right side up with the zipper already attached. Now take one of the lining pieces and place it right sides together on top of the zipper, aligning the edges, and here make sure you align the correct edge of the lining as the two sides might look similar. The zipper edge is slightly narrow, while the bottom edge is a bit wider. You can also check by looking for the gap notches marked on the bottom of the lining, and once everything is in place, pin the edges securely. Then repeat the same process for the other edge. Stitch the lining the same way as the zipper using a zipper foot with a 7mm seam allowance on both edges. When stitching the lining, remember that the fabric may stretch a little, which could cause some wrinkles, so don't stress too much. Small wrinkles won't be visible in the final piece. You can choose to smooth them out as you go or simply leave them as they won't affect the overall look of the makeup bag. Now flip the main fabric and lining right side up, then top stitch on the main fabric about 2mm from the edge and make sure to push the seam allowance toward the main fabric. The top stitching should stay hidden on the right side of the lining, ensuring a clean finish. Also, when top stitching with an open end zipper, make sure to fully open it to make sewing easier. If you are working with a closed end zipper, you might need to pause, close the zipper and then continue top stitching. It really depends on the length of the zipper you have. In this step, press the lining along the top edge towards the inside of the makeup bag. Now place the lining bottom edges right sides together and pin, leaving a gap as indicated in the pattern. Stitch with a 1cm seam allowance, ensuring to backstitch securely at both ends. Press the bottom lining seam allowance open, making sure to press the gap flat as well. This will help create a clean and neat finish for the lining when you turn the makeup bag right side out later. Now we have to sew the short edges where the zipper is. Place the main fabric pieces right sides together and do the same with the lining pieces, making sure the zipper is between the layers. Once everything is lined up, pin both sides to keep everything in place. Let's start with the side where the end of the zipper is, making sure the zipper is fully closed. Pin all 4 layers together, the 2 lining layers and the 2 main fabric layers. Take a moment to carefully align the notch on the main fabric with the center of the zipper and the seam allowance of the lining. Now let's move to the second side of the zipper where it starts. This part is a little different. You will want to open the zipper just enough to give yourself some room to sew later. Then pin only 3 layers together, the 2 main fabric layers and 1 lining layer, while keeping the zipper teeth tightly closed. Again, make sure the notch on the main fabric is lined up with the center of the zipper. If you're a more confident sewist, you can sew this side with all 4 layers, just like the other side. However, if you're a beginner, I recommend this method as it makes it easier to align the open teeth closely. So choose the option that works best for you. Now stitch both edges with a 1cm seam allowance. Make sure you are using a strong durable stitch to ensure everything stays in place. For added reinforcement, you can sew over the seam twice. Just be extra careful when you are sewing over the zipper. Take it slow so you don't damage the needle. Here I'm stitching the other side where the zipper starts over the 3 layers. Now on the side where the zipper starts, align the center of the zipper with the center seam of the lining. Pin it securely at the edges to hold everything in place. In this way, you will add the last layer of the lining. Once everything is pinned, stitch it together using a 1cm seam allowance. Now trim off the excess zipper tape on both sides. Now we are moving on to sew the corners. The makeup bag has 4 corners, but let's start with just 1 for now. So take 1 corner of the main fabric and flatten it out, making sure the right sides are together, and pin it on both sides to keep it in place for now. Now align the notch on the main fabric with the notch on the lining, ensuring that the lining is also right sides together. Push the seam allowances of both fabrics to one side. Pin all the layers together at the center notch where the main fabric and lining meet. Now you can repin the pins on both sides to hold all layers securely in place, making sure everything is nice and even. So now that everything is pinned in place, it's time to sew the corners. Start by stitching along the pinned line with a 1 cm seam allowance. Remember to backstitch at both ends to make sure it's nice and secure. As you sew, keep the corners straight and sharp to ensure a clean finish. I recommend sewing the corner twice for extra reinforcement. When sewing the makeup bag's 4 corners, it's best to focus on one corner at a time for easier and more accurate results. So pin one corner in place, sew it, and then move on to the next corner. Now go ahead and repeat the same steps for the remaining 3 corners. Take your time to pin and sew each one carefully, just like the first one. Once you are done, all 4 corners should be securely sewn and everything will be nicely in place. Now it's time to turn the makeup bag right side out through the lining gap. Gently push out the corners to make them sharp and neat. Once it's turned, check everything carefully to make sure all seams are sewn correctly. If you notice any issues, now it's the time to make any necessary adjustments before finishing up. To close the lining gap, pin it in place. Now top stitch the lining gap 2 mm from the edge. This will give a clean finish and secure the lining. Now let's move on to preparing the zipper pull tab. Start by folding the pull tab in half lengthways with the right sides together and press it. Stitch the pull zipper tab with a 7 mm seam allowance. Start at the gap notch and sew all the way to the end. Repeat the process on the other side, making sure to backstitch securely at the gap. Now trim the seam allowances to 2 or 3 mm. Turn the pull zipper tab right side out through the opening and gently push out the corners. Press the zipper pull tab to flatten the seam allowance and fully push out the corners. Take your time to make sure the seam is centered, giving the tab a neat and clean finish. Now top stitch the gap 2 mm from the edge. Take the pull zipper tab and thread it through the zipper pull. Fold the tab in half and tie a secure knot to keep it in place. This little step will give your zipper a nice finished look and make it easier to use. And that's it, your makeup bag is all finished and ready to use. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and found it helpful. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share this video with other sewists. If you have any questions or need more tips, feel free to leave a comment below. Happy sewing!